Ray Hadley on 2GB 873.
Good to have your company. 131873 is the number. Coming up to 20 past 12. Back in late 2006, we're all shocked to hear about Greg Page, I guess better known to some of our listeners as Yellow Wiggle, that he's diagnosed with orthostatic intolerance, a chronic disorder of the nervous system, we're told. I'd never heard of it. I don't think Greg had ever heard of it. It's been a bit of a battle, of course. He had to sever ties with his beloved Wiggles to try and get his life back on track. I've been talking to him more recently, as I've indicated, about that battle to get his life back on track, and it still is very much a battle. He's been working with the Baker Heart Research Institute, who specialise in this particular area, to establish a new research fund called the Greg Page Research Fund, and you'll see that on his webpage, gregpage.com. He's been working with the doctors at Baker, who said that until he was diagnosed, it was very difficult to impress on employers, particularly how serious this condition could be for their staff who suffered with it. I guess some people just thought they were malingering, acting. But now, because of his profile, those who suffer with this exotic illness, orthostatic intolerance, they've got some sort of hope of convincing people they really are crook. And I've asked Greg to come into the studio. He's gone into print this week in Women's Day to talk about this significant problem, and he's consented to talk to me in the electronic media as well. Hello, mate.
G'day, Ray. How are you?
Not bad. The first question I ask you when I see you up at the pub, when we have a meal together occasionally, when I see you in the foyer, is how's today? Because it's pretty much a day-to-day proposition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is very much a day-to-day thing. Thankfully now, though, the days are a lot better than they used to be. 6 months ago, 12 months ago, it was a lot worse than what it is now. But, the symptoms are a lot less prevalent at the moment. But it is still a little bit of a battle to get through some things.
Is that because of medication, or because you know what you have and you can manage it?
Bit of both, yeah, a bit of both, really. I mean, the medication has helped a lot. And, I was fortunate in that when I was really unwell, I was able to take a real back seat and take some time to get better and focus on that. So a lot of people, I mean, as you said, a lot of people probably get looked at by others and think, well, what's wrong with you? You're just not pulling your weight. You're not working hard enough. There's nothing wrong with you. Just get your act together. But it's not really like that. And for those people that don't have the luxury of being able to take a back seat and focus on getting their life together, it's a lot harder. A lot harder to try and, support yourself and a family if you have one.
Well, let's just take that. A bloke is a tradesman. He gets orthostatic intolerance. He doesn't have, I guess, record residuals. He doesn't have a little bit of money put away. He's got a wife and 4 kids. He's got a mortgage. He's got commitments. What does he do? Does he just battle on in some capacity? What does he do?
Well, yeah, and I think to a certain extent that's what I did, because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I battled on through a lot of the symptoms. Somebody like that would do that until they get to the stage where I did, where they just got floored by it. You can't do anything else. You
think you had it for a lot longer than when you actually were diagnosed or started to worry about it? You can trace it back to even when you started as a Wiggle.
Yeah.
That things weren't quite right to you. You didn't feel like you had the same sort of energy you should have.
Yeah. Predating that, I presented to the doctor with symptoms that I thought were asthma, and the doctor thought that I had asthma as well. So they put me on Ventolin or some sort of puffer medication, and that didn't help, but the symptoms would go away. So it would be intermittent symptoms, and then finally, after years of pushing through it, my body just gave up and said, don't do this anymore.
You're doing 12 shows a week. You've got a personal trainer.
Yeah.
As the boys have told me recently, and you've told me before, it's an exacting sort of thing you do. It's really, really tough on you, and you've got to be supremely fit to do it. So you just put it down to the fact that I'm working really hard, but that's what, entertainers do. They work really hard, and you've got a limited time in which to do it. So I'll press through that pain barrier. I'll keep going. And then what happened eventually when you say you were floored? Did you actually collapse?
I collapsed. I mean, the tours were getting harder and harder for me. I was getting more and more fatigued. Like, I'd just get on the bus at the end of a show to travel, and I'd just lie on the lounge, and I just couldn't talk to anyone. It was just hard work to talk. I had trouble breathing. I had, heavy chest, and it was just very unpleasant. And I just thought it was because of the rigours of touring. But, yeah, then eventually one day on tour, we were backstage doing a meet and greet with a group of children that have special needs. And, I think I was kind of squatting down to be on the same level as the child, talking to them. And then when I stood up, it was like I just felt really, really unwell. A feeling that I hadn't had that acutely prior to that. And I said to Jeff, Jeff, I've got to go to the dressing room. I feel sick. And I took about 6 steps and then just fell to the floor.
In simple terms, it means the blood's not pumping to your extremities. Is that correct?
It's not getting around your body altogether. It just basically pulls in your legs. So things like that, being squatting down to going standing straight away, a lot of people will feel that kind of instant wooziness.
Yeah.
But for people with orthostatic intolerance, it's a lot worse. Also, standing around for periods of time, not moving, the blood just tends to pool in your legs, and you just, the symptoms come on then.
See, when you were finally diagnosed, and I pick up the front page of the Telegraph, Yellow Wiggle retires, orthostatic intolerance, I'm thinking, I've never heard of this poor bugger, what's happened to him? And then I start to get phone calls from listeners, ladies, said, I've suffered for 5 years. Tell him, and I think I phoned you actually, and said, look, there's a lady here you might need to talk to. She tells me there's light at the end of the tunnel, that you can overcome this, through diet and through medication, through a whole range of things. But you have gone, and I had the boys in recently talking about the sort of people that you run into at your concerts. We're talking about Jerry Seinfeld, we're talking about leading Hollywood stars who would go and see the Wiggles. So I think this is one thing that I haven't thought about and people haven't dealt with. You're in the prime of your career. I think at the time you're 34, 35. And you have the capacity to earn a lot of money for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And all of a sudden that's taken away from you because of illness. Now, did that take some getting used to, or you're still getting used to it?
I think I'm still getting used to it. At the time, I was that unwell that it really didn't sink in. It really didn't hit me fully, because I was so unwell. I knew I couldn't do that anymore. I knew I couldn't perform. At the moment, my energy levels are back now. I've got a lot more energy. I'm not as fatigued. I still have trouble singing. We were just talking about that before. I tend to hyperventilate very easily now when I take the big breaths to sing the big phrases. I get very dizzy when I sing, and it just doesn't last for very long.
So you tell me also you go for a walk. You can walk 10, 11, 12, 13 Ks at a certain pace, not a problem.
Yeah.
But simple things around the home where it's bending down, weeding, where it may take a bit of sort of exertion, including singing, which, you exert yourself, that's when you hit the wall.
That's right, yeah.
And you've got to sort of step back and say,
yeah, it's been a real challenge in terms of balancing those kinds of things out, day-to-day activities versus, potential working opportunities. So I am hopeful that very soon I will be able to get back to doing some sort of live performance, because I really miss that. At the moment I'm working on a CD, and that's been hard because I can only sing one. Like, to record a song, you might do 20 takes of it, and that takes an hour. Yeah. But by the end of that hour, I'm just absolutely...
You're buggered.
Yeah.
So you're looking for somewhere to lie down.
That's right.
So live performing at the moment is completely out of the question.
Yeah, at the moment.
But one of the things